Hello, I'm Gerald Efting. Welcome to the next video of the series, Bring Your Family Together. Today, I'm going to share some thoughts with you around values, how they're a guidepost, a lighthouse in our lives. Values will help us answer some of the key questions of our lives and of our family. What is the purpose of our family? What kind of family do we want to be? What inspires us and connects us and keeps us together? How can we contribute to society as a family? What type of relationships do we want to have together? Values are such an important part of our lives and help us drive our behaviors. So let's talk a little bit about personal values before we talk about family values. Values are the qualities that define who you are at the core. They're your fundamental beliefs. They help you make choices about what you will commit to or what you won't commit to, and what you want to do and maybe don't want to do. So if you think about walking through a day and all of a sudden everything's well and you're feeling really good, and all of a sudden something happens. Somebody says something or something happens in front of you, and you just have these negative emotions take over you. Well, one of the checks that you might want to do is to actually check to see if somebody has stepped on one of your core values. As well, if you're not honoring your values or your choices in life, you'll get that nagging feeling that something is missing or something's wrong, something's out of alignment. That's what values do to us. And when it comes to family values, first thing you need to do is clearly identify them and define what they are. What do they mean? What do they mean to you? What do they mean to each other as a family? They're that compass that helps you guide the family and especially future generations. Family values can carry over into business and business decisions. I know over the last number of months, there's been a lot of family business that have had very difficult decisions. And I know that some of the families have utilized their own values to make some of those business decisions. Do those tough business decisions align with the family values? Those decisions can be weighed against those values. You need to ensure the values are practical and most importantly, that they're agreed upon by everybody. So how do you come up with a list of values? Well, here's a little exercise that you can do, and you can take some time after the video to come back to this slide and to then work through and create a list of your values and your family's values. It's a work in progress. It's not a one and done. I've done it once, so I don't have to ever do it again. No, things change, families change. So you'll have to probably do the same exercise in the future. Don't look for the perfect word or the perfect phrase. Put a string of words together, and that's absolutely fine. Like an example of integrity, honesty, walk the talk. Something that'll just kind of get across of what that intent of that value is. I've kind of have 4 different kind of points here that will highlight that could help determine your values. So here we start. Think about these things or answer these questions. What is important to the family? What's important to each person individually? Write those down. What are the thoughts around that? What does the family care about? What does the family want in their lives? What do they want for the family in the future? And once you do that, you answer all those, then you say what values are evident in those answers. Another way of looking at what are our values is if you remember a peak experience in your life, when things were just clicking along, everything was great, you felt so blessed, and again, there were challenges, but they just seemed so small, you could just flow right through them. Well, what was important about that experience? When you think about that experience, that peak experience, what was important about it? What values were being honored during that time? Sometimes the easiest way to come up with a list of values are those things that drive you crazy, that drive you absolutely nuts, that frustrate you, make you angry. So think about those. What are they? Make a list of those things that actually drive you nuts, and then say, what value is being violated? What value is being stepped on? What is it that you can't live with and still be true to yourself? What is it that drives you absolutely nuts? A lot of times that's the easiest way to make the initial list of values. Then there's the invisible values. They're so ingrained in you that you don't even think that they're values. The things that are part of you and have been part of you for years and years and years. One of the things that might be is your non-negotiables. What are those things that absolutely would not be negotiable? That probably will drive you to a value. What value is in that non-negotiable? So once you get that whole list of values, what do you do with them? Once you create a list of values for your family, what do you do with them? Well, remember I talked about emotional governance being kind of an agreement of how you're going to behave with each other. Well, that emotional governance a lot of times is held within a document, a family wealth constitution, a family charter, whatever it is. It's a living document. It's not a dead document. It's a living one and has changes all the time. We help families build these. So they're unique for every family. They're created by the family for the family, and everyone operates from a safe space. That means that everybody feels good about who they are personally. They can speak up and they can share disagreements. You need to do that kind of work first. And then there's documents of record for the family and business history or the stories. And we talked about the stories and the legacy in a previous video. And then ultimately, the family purpose, family vision, family mission, and the values are recorded in here, in this document. We'll cover the rest of the points in another video. But here is where you would have those values. You would document them. You would make sure that they're there so that the future generations have them. That you have them as a record of what is agreed upon. So I just want to throw up these statements just as a reminder around that values as part of the emotional governance will affect both the family and the business. So here's some key questions. What are your personal and family values? Are you living your values? So once you do have that list, then make an assessment of saying, are you living those values? Is every person in your family living up to those values? In what situations have these values been challenged? In what situations will these values be challenged in the future? And just a reminder around behavioral risk, because it's the behaviors of those individuals around those values that's going to have impact around ownership decisions and business decisions, and especially around family relationships. That was a very quick video on values. We could have spent a lot of time talking about values and going through that list of values and maybe throwing up words, etc. So here's my challenge to you. My challenge is for you to now go and create a list of values. If you already have a list of personal values and family values, the challenge is to go back to them and see if they're all still valid. Are they being lived to? Will you commit to doing that in the next week? And the final piece is, how can I serve you? If you would like to spend some time talking around values and maybe going through that exercise with me to create your list or your family's list of values, just reach out. You can reach me at my email below, or you could also reach me through LinkedIn.